Hello, welcome to this edition of Momentum. I'm Robert Green, the Interim Dean of the Bagley College of Engineering, and I'm happy to have you join us today. We're fortunate enough today to be joined by Dr. John Ball, a professor and Robert D. Guyton Chair of Electrical Engineering. Dr. Ball has also recently been named Grisham Master Teacher, and he's also advisor for our EcoCar program. So John, happy to have you with us today.
Thank you, Robert. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you about a couple of things while we're here. I want to obviously talk about Grisham Master Teacher and eventually move into EcoCar and some other things. But let's start with Grisham Master Teacher. What is that program all about?
So John Grisham, through a generous gift, has enabled the university to recognize what they consider the best undergraduate teachers, and it's a very big honor.
You know, it's an important program. We're very thankful to John Grisham for providing the funds for that. So what was involved in actually being selected for that? What was the process you had to go through to be selected?
I had to start with a nomination letter and write a packet. My packet ended up being 44 pages. But the years prior, I had applied 3 times in a row for the graduate teaching award. I finally got that the 3rd time, but I was able to reuse a lot of that material in the packet, but it still was a lot to write.
It is a lot, and it's there are only a few selected every year. So tell us a little bit about your teaching. What do you do that really puts you head and shoulders above some of the others in terms of how you teach, particularly undergraduate students?
Yes, so I use a lot of active learning. My classroom is loud and boisterous. Students are doing activities throughout the class of various types. I try to get everyone involved, and I call on them randomly so they never know, when they're going to have to answer a question. But I also treat them with respect, and there's no dumb answer or dumb response in the class. I don't make fun of them.
Yeah, and it was interesting when we went to announce and congratulate you on winning the award. It was a surprise
to say the least.
To you. And we walked into your classroom, and you were right in the middle of active learning there. And some people pointed out, wow, this wasn't just something he put in his letter. He really does do it, and we saw it in person. There was a lot of energy in the classroom. So what advice would you have for some other professors, other people teaching classes? How can they improve what they do?
So the thing that really changed my teaching, I went to the NETI-1, National Effective Teacher Institute, and MSU in the past has sent many, many people to that. That's where I was introduced to active learning. I was doing some of the things that they talked about, I just didn't know the terminology. So I would highly suggest that people who are really wanting to beef up their teaching attend the NETI-1. Also, this is something you can't fake. You need to care about the students.
Yeah.
They can certainly tell.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, you've done a good job teaching, and of course that's only part of what learning is all about. What advice do you have for students in classrooms? How can they be more effective learners and benefit from their professors?
So prepare ahead of time. Read your reading materials ahead of time, and you'll get more out of the class. At least that was my experience. And I'm an electrical engineer, and in the EC, Electrical and Computer Engineering Department. Math is so critical. At a very young age, my dad told me, if you want to be an engineer, you need to master the math. And from what I see, the students, it's not so much the engineering concepts that trip them up. They just, when they falter, it seems to be most of the time it's the math.
Yeah. So how did you mentioned being an electrical engineer, how did you come to land on electrical engineering?
I think it's in the family. My dad was department head here for 28 years before he retired. And he tells me, of course I don't remember this, when I was in a high chair I used to reach up and toggle the switch, and I was just fascinated that the light would go on and off. And as I grew up, he was gracious enough to let me take apart many things, probably some of them that I shouldn't have, to see how they worked. So I think it was just part of my nature.
Yeah, I think it's a common trait among engineers is we like to take things apart and hopefully sometimes put them back together so that they were. I wasn't always successful in getting them to work when I put them back together. So tell us a little bit about electrical engineering. I know it's a very broad field, and students may have an idea of what they want to do. in terms of what all is involved in electrical engineering? What different areas can you focus on?
Oh, it's so broad. You know, when I tell people I'm an electrical engineer, maybe some of them think, oh, can you fix my TV, right? But we're involved in power, communications, radio frequency, things like radar and television. Actually, my areas are signal and image processing, which is a big subset of that as well. We're involved in electrical engineers work in almost everything today. You think of cell phones and autonomous vehicles and computers, basically anything that has an integrated circuit in, we're working in that area.
Yeah, so you think there's a good job market for that, longevity?
Absolutely,
okay.
And it's only getting stronger as far as I can see.
Yeah, so what advice do you have for students who are trying to get into that field? In terms of applying and being accepted and sort of getting ready maybe in high school or junior high to pursue that career. You've talked about math, so that's certainly important, but what other skills have you found have been beneficial to you?
One of the things, oddly enough, some of the brighter students coming out don't have the study skills, so if they could learn how to study, that's one of the major things. Also, if they could take some of the English or calculus classes in their high school and clip out and then take some other things, that'll make the load a little bit lighter.
Yeah, so I hear that a lot and I see it a lot as well, that study skills are not what they used to be, I would say. What do you have to tell students? What can they do to improve study skills? What do they need to do that maybe they're not doing now to be better at studying?
Basically, first thing is I tell them come to class. It's been my experience that those that don't come to class are a letter grade or two below where they really can achieve. And then number two, they need to treat college like a job. If they're taking an hour or 3 hours a week, then they need to spend a couple of hours outside of class for every hour they're in class. Now, if they treat it like a job, they could work for 8 hours, take a break, do something nice in the evening, maybe do a little homework and studying on the weekend, but they don't have to be wearing themselves out if they're really applying themselves.
And I think that's important. I think a lot of students come with the idea that I'm going to be up all night, and and I always tell them, if you're up all night, what you're telling me is you're not really good at managing time. Because I agree, you should be able to get it all done if you treat it like a job.
That happened to me once or twice, but I'm not very good at doing that.
Yeah. It always catches up with you eventually.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, one thing I want to talk to you about is you are the advisor for the EcoCar competition we have. So perhaps maybe could you just give us a brief history of EcoCar at Mississippi State? Because I know we go all the way back to the late 1990s when it was Challenge X. So how do we get from Challenge X to where we are now?
There's been a whole series of these competitions, and the couple of most recent ones, the EV Challenge, we're in year 3 now. And then before that, we had the Mobility Challenge, working with the Blazer and turning it into a hybrid. And then before that, we had the EcoCar 3, where they modified a Camaro. Now, I don't really know a lot of the history before that because it's before I was here at Mississippi State. But we've done really well in the competitions. We've got 4 first place finishes, and if you ever go to CAVS, or Center for Advanced Vehicular Systems, there's 2 trophy cases full of trophies throughout the years.
Yeah, it is an impressive trophy case. So what is the purpose of EcoCar? Why are we doing it? Why is it even a competition?
So Department of Energy and Argonne and other sponsors such as GM see it as a really critical thing. They want to prepare students for a future in the automotive workforce. Okay, so it's geared primarily for the students. They'll typically in a competition take a car and somehow modify it, go through the design process. So they're learning GM's design process, for instance, in this one. They're learning the tools and techniques. They're learning how to plan and execute a very complex project. And it's something they get bits and pieces of in the classroom, and although we have excellent teaching here at MSU, they can't really get that kind of experience just in the classroom.
Yeah. So I know it's not just here's our fee, let's compete, and just because we win, we don't always get to compete the next time. What is the process for Mississippi State to continue to be involved in EcoCar from year to year and cycle to cycle, competition to competition.
Right, so typically the competitions are multi-years, and it's a very interesting process. So as a professor, I write a lot of proposals, right, to NSF and other agencies. Well, here the students are writing the proposals. They put it together, they work with your office and the CAVs and the departments and put the budget and the proposal together. And then if we're one of the winners, like we were for the EV Challenge, I think there were 200 applicants and 13 teams were accepted into the challenge, then we'll move on into the next one.
Yeah, so it's really an honor just to be accepted to compete, whether you come in first or last, you're still doing pretty good.
Absolutely.
So we talk about the competition, and I think when most people think competition, they think, okay, well, I'm going to go out, I'm going to train. We're going to have a competition, and at the end of that, we'll have a winner. But this competition is a little different. There are things sort of throughout those years. It's not just work and then it's all one shot. Tell us a little bit about those intermittent mini competitions that lead up to the final.
Yes, so every year has a different theme, and this year's theme is to get the vehicle out and running. That was very challenging. We've just been recently able to connect our motors, our team added motors to the high voltage system in the Lyric. We've been able to change gears and spin wheels. That's a big deal. There's 5 or 6 teams now that still haven't accomplished that, even after a year and a half of working on it. Shows you how tough it is. And each of those different things throughout the year, we have different deliverables that the sub-teams work on, and we have typically a final competition. But again, I said it was about the students, right? And so the students are having these trainings, fall workshop, winter workshop, and then they go to the competition, and sometimes we get trainings at the competition as well.
Yeah. Well, I know I've been out there a couple of times this semester, and I saw the team working on some issues, and to find out other teams were experiencing the same issue. And what impressed me was the cooperation. Although there's a competition, there's cooperation, and the teams across the nation are sharing in all of this. So it sounds like a really great experience, and I know the students that go through this are getting great job offers before they graduate. So we got just 30 seconds or so. Tell us, for any of our audience who are watching it, if they're a student here and want to get involved, how do they go about being part of the EcoCar team? And also understand you don't necessarily have to be an engineering student to participate.
Oh no, we have communications, we have people from the business school, MBA, we have all different types of engineering. All they need to do is either contact me or contact our program manager or PM, and there's a simple form. They sign up, they sign some NDAs because we have GM confidential information, and then that's it.
Yeah.
We have a whole onboarding process to get them started.
Good. Yeah, it's a great program. I know it's had great success and will continue. So I want to thank you for what you're doing and the mentorship and leadership you're providing to that team. So thank you for doing that. I want to thank you all for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you all next time for the next edition of Momentum.